Okay. Now, I guess we'll just read another Fringe review. Right? I restarted, Ryan. Because it makes it, they're individual clips on YouTube. So some of them are really long, some of them aren't so much. All right, next up. Oh, no. Oh, wait, never mind. Here is another Fringe review. Whoa. See, that's the problem when that happens. Nobody knows what that is. X, the rise and fall of an Asylum star, Maddest Rung Productions. Madness turns to theater, and theater turns to madness. In Jill Dowiss's X, the rise and fall of an Asylum star, an intriguing one-woman show performed by Erica Wilhite at the Fringe. In the late 1870s, Millie X was a 15-year-old girl named Augustine who was admitted to the famous Paris hospital called, for hysteria. As Dowsey fashions the story, Augustine is raped, deflowered, she calls it, by the noted Dr. Jean-Martin Carchot, and she's regularly put on display in the hospital auditorium, showing her hysterical symptoms for all of the aristocratic society to come and see. Wilhite, the rims of her eyes darkened, her hair wild and free, shows plenty of panache as patient X, and she shines in a piece that explores the fine line between medicine and exploitation. A fuller production than this one, with real stage lights and a real stage, might draw the audience further into Augustine's little circle of hell. "30 minutes. Any requests?" Looking on live stream, nope. Okay. I'm going to read a show that I was in at Theater Downtown in 1992. Thank you, Ryan. Next up is, again, if I can get this link working, this is Maupin's review of a show with a very large cast that I was involved in when I was, how old was I? I was 12 years old. This review is from November 12th, 1992, and originally appeared on page E1 in the Orlando Sentinel. And it goes a little something like this. Theater review. Theater Downtown puts spirit, warmth into grapes. in grapes, not into. From the moment Tom Sherroman puts his mouth to the harmonica at the start of Theater Downtown's The Grapes of Wrath, it's clear that this classic piece of American literature isn't going to die a stuffy death on the stage. As the ex-preacher Jim Casey, Sherroman shows himself to be a man who hasn't let hard times wear him down. The year may be 1938, and the place Dust Bowl, Oklahoma, but the jovial Casey still has a song on his lips and a fire in his eye, snapping his suspenders, relishing the sound of his own voice. This Casey welcomes another traveler to his lonely road, and his high spirits prove to be ample welcome for an audience as well. High spirits suffuse Theater Downtown's production, not only the kind that make people grin, but also the kind that raise them to a higher emotional plane than they knew before. The Grapes of Wrath makes you feel, and this production is a cry to the heart. Directed by Peg O'Keefe and enacted by a cast of 31, to the doleful accompaniment of a 4-member band, Theater Downtown's production abandons the sparse, tackinum feeling that Chicago Steppenwolf Theater Company gave its original staging for a warmer, more personal approach. If Steppenwolf's production came closer to the solemn, angry sensibility of John Steinbeck's 1938 novel, Theater Downtown finds in that novel its joy. It's in the jig danced by a gaggle of used car salesmen as they try to con yet another Okie into blowing his savings on a piece of junk. It's in the fierce life that pours from the performers who play the Joad family grandparents and the youthful exuberance of the family's barely grown son Al. It's in the almost spiritual sense of human connection this drama suggests, the feeling somehow exalting that men and women brought to their knees still can be men and women unbowed. Theater Downtown's Grapes of Wrath takes place in a brown, murky no-man's land designed by Bobby Tilley, a space seemingly sculpted of gloomy burlap and hung with limp strips of fabric like withered stalks of corn. This is the desolate Oklahoma from which the Joads are driven to make their way west to the Promised Land. When they set off on their journey, their beat-up Hudson Super 6 is simply a cramped platform on wheels, the shape of its headlights echoed by a couple of fragments of oval picture frame. That clumsy platform, pulled laboriously on and off by extras, is the embodiment of the Joad's journey, one fueled by human sweat. Urged on by the show's plaintive music, interpreted on stage with a rough beauty by Morris Sullivan, Debbie Kilsheimer, Adari Fluno, and Frank Boone, the Theater Downtown's large cast becomes more than the sum of its parts. Not every performer on stage is as skilled as the cast's most able members, but O'Keefe makes that matter very little. What one remembers is not so much individual performances, but rather the efforts of the whole. The look of dazed hope, for example, on every face as the Joad's overloaded vehicle moves off into the unknown. Of course, a few performers strike closest to the heart. Sherroman is the thoughtful, benevolent Casey. Tom Joyner is the fearsome traveler fleeing California and the horrors he has seen. Pam Bowman makes a plain-spoken, fearless Ma Joad, the kind of woman whose conviction can move mountains. And Babette Garber fills Rose of Sharon, the life force of Steinbeck's novel, with the unfulfilled promise of her mother's strength. Frank Galati's adaptation of the novel moves steadily, relentlessly, not so much building to a climax as placing layer upon layer until the drama is complete. Steppenwolf's production sometimes seems like a long, tiresome journey, but O'Keefe has partly it's the intimacy of Theater Downtown itself, which all but makes the audience part of the play. And partly this production's success lies in its understanding of Steinbeck's characters, an understanding that imbues the show so thoroughly you can almost feel its warmth. The powerless will endure, Ma Jo said, after everyone else is gone. We're the people, we go on. And so much spirit flows from this Grapes of Wrath that you believe it to be true. A steal at only $7 and $10 in 1992. All right. Next review. Oh, wait a second. I already have this one. All right. After this, only about two more reviews. This is the favorite review of mine that she wrote. Is that right? That's right. Okay.